section of the ordinances that has the general parking regulations in it. And I'd refer you to the second page at the bottom, where it starts to talk about timed parking. As I alluded to you before, Rex Ewald and I put in place the shell of a timed parking ordinance once the meters were removed. So this has been probably in there since 2010-ish. So what it does is, you know, it puts the shell there that basically says, you know, vehicles, there's a time, you could have a timed parking regulation, and vehicles would have to move out of those spaces after that timing is set. And it would take a resolution to say, okay, we want timing, and here it is on this date, and here's what we want this to do. So this is a shell. It's not enforceable without that resolution to say what they are. So you will see that there is no specific timed limit on this. Now, you can see on the wording here that any, for example, sub A says it should be unlawful for the owner or operator of any vehicle to leave such vehicle parked in the same parking stall after the time limit has expired. So a resolution that says that we establish a 30-minute parking space in front of this store in this block, or we would actually put how many feet it is from the intersection, all that stuff is in there. But so I believe, to answer your question, it would be easy enough to put a 30-minute parking stall, a 15-minute parking stall in various locations, or in one, or whatever you decide to do. I think the shell is there to do that. It would just take a resolution. So that said, I would only pose the question to you of, do you really want to do that without having timed parking throughout the downtown? Because if you put it in front of one business,
everybody else,
I guarantee the next business to it will want one also, and on and on and on. So I would, my recommendation would be, I do these things in an overall management plan of parking in the downtown would be. Not that you can't start with those and put them in, but I think that, you know, we need to start thinking about moving forward with something else, so.
Well, and it would, I mean, if you've got unlimited parking everywhere else, and you're limiting it here, I mean, it's.
You know, will it leave a couple spaces, and if that's the motivation for why you want to do it, I think that probably would be successful. So that there would be, you know, a spot or two where they wouldn't necessarily park all day or for longer than 48 hours or whatever. So for that purpose, it could be
The
done.
main purpose of this is for, like, a spot for people to go get into park close to Schultz Pharmacy, and on the other side of the square for takeouts, for pickup deliveries.
Well,
Something real
even
quick.
the east side would be Poncho and Lefties, or
Right.
any of those businesses,
And
so it wouldn't necessarily.
Pick up delivery. Someone's gonna pick up or deliver something, they'll have a spot on each side in order to park, in order to get in and out quick.
Yeah, I would be careful about putting it in front of a specific business. Almost you'd want to have some uniformity, like on each side of the square, approximately where they are. I think someone threw out maybe on either side of the crosswalk or something.
Right, yeah.
So that there would be something there, and you would not get the complaint that, well, they did it for these people.
Right.
Right, well,
I think the thought was, Al, correct me if I'm wrong, but put them where there are existing signs, correct? Is that kind of what you
We
looked at?
could put them on a light post or something
we've
like
got
that.
light poles in spots, do we?
Some,
Some, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I would even be interested in having it not at curbside, but on the outside of the outer ring, or the inside of the outer ring. That would even work. I mean, instead of,
Outside of the inner ring?
no,
Outside of the inner ring.
outside of the outer ring, or the inside of the outer ring. One, the
Whoa.
outer ring. close
On
to
the
corners.
median, on
Right, yes.
the
Like here.
outside the lane.
Right, yeah. So, no, I mean, that'd be fine. I mean,
Because you've got handicap spots in some of those too.
Yes.
Right. beside the handicap spot.
Okay, yeah.
Have handicap and right beside is half-hour parking.
Right, it's like at the Schultz Pharmacy one that's on the map and the Smoke Shack one. Schultz Pharmacy one, just to the south, the bottom of the page there is the handicap,
Right.
and then the
Right.
Schultz one. Smoke Shack is kinda right in that,
Same area.
kinda that same area, I think, to the far side, that large crosswalk, that's where the handicap ramp is.
Yeah.
So that's kinda the best spot for one there.
I mean, I'd like the one right in front of Schultz Pharmacy, I'd like that one there, but the other three sides, I would go on the medium side. On the medium.
I think you almost have to be consistent on where
Yeah.
you're putting it.
Right.
Because,
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes it easier for people too, they'll know like, okay, this spot on each side of the square is,
is time.
yeah.
Is there handicap on both sides of the crosswalk?
No,
You have handicap on one side and 30-minute parking on the other side of the crosswalk.
Do we wanna do 30-minute? That seems excessive for pickups.
yeah,
I mean, if you're going to pick up a
10,
20
There's
person,
handicap on both sides of the, outside of the parking.
Yeah.
Not on the outside, Brendan.
Yes,
Well-
on the outside there is.
Yeah, there's on the outside, pretty much right by the crosswalk there.
Yeah, right by the crosswalk there.
Cause I thought the
Down.
Schultz side, there's one on the north side of the crosswalk, but not on the south side.
No,
There's one on the inner ring,
on the inner ring, that's, I think
That's
that's.
what I'm
Yeah.
trying to, yep.
so it's,
So the inner and the outside of the outside ring, there's one.
Right.
so we could do this, like the first one south of the crosswalk on the Schultz side.
Either beside the crosswalk or beside the handicapped or,
I mean, cause yeah, if you went on the, if you went on the approach end of the crosswalk, on the outside perimeter of the square,
Mhm.
I mean, it kinda opens up visibility too, if people are in that crosswalk area to try and cross.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of complaints we have too up there, is people
Yeah.
trying to cross.
Right.
visibility on the square is
Yeah.
poor.
When it
So the
snows,
floor-
everybody parked right there in the crosswalk and they park everywhere.
Yeah. I don't know, I just think we need to be consistent, and the way it's laid out now that you have it out, it's not consistent.
Right,
And I don't like that. I think to make it easier, and I like your idea for visibility because
you know,
it is a huge issue if you drive on the square and trying to see the pedestrians, or if you're trying to cross being a pedestrian, it's pretty difficult.
So as you
Not
go
knowing-
around the square,
yeah.
there's, it sounds like it's pretty consistent that before you get to a crosswalk, there's not a handicap stall.
Yeah, I think, well,
But
typically before you get to a crosswalk and you're driving, there's one on your left.
That's
On
right.
the left,
Yep.
but on the right.
On the right is usually after,
Right after,
Right.
it's on the right, yep.
So if
except
we
for on the
did
south side.
that last one before the crosswalk all the way around,
Right,
it's consistent and it's in the
Yeah.
center of the block
yeah.
and it kinda opens that up.
Mhm. Yeah, cause you
Yeah.
never know what's gonna change as far as restaurants.
right.
Right,
some-
right,
That's, I
exactly.
mean, I wasn't trying to get
Business.
any restaurant or anything like that, I was just, Schultz Farms had like, cause there's a lot of elderly
And that's still close to
People-
Schultz's.
Yeah.
That was the main one I wanted,
Yeah.
as close to it as we could, but
Right.
and also on the other side, you got, the, medical.
Monroe Medical.
Monroe Medical,
Yeah.
that's, people were, don't move very swift, have something close to that too, this would take care of it. I mean, it'd be
Yeah, it
a
gives
few
them,
car stalls down the most,
right,
Right.
but it'd be,
And it would be
Close.
close to that ramp,
yeah,
you know, that open space if they need that, that access too.
yeah,
Cause the crosswalks are all handicap accessible,
correct.
so,
have it right beside that.
yeah,
Mhm.
So, Fred, do you recommend that we hold off on this and incorporate it into an overall parking plan
Well-
downtown, or go ahead with this and this be the start of it, or what, I mean, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I'm good either way. I mean, I'm just saying, I'd hate to see you do this specifically and not even think about anything else. You know, it wouldn't necessarily have to be, let's wait on this until we have, because I think that it's still gonna take a little bit to plan out how
Yeah.
overall
Right,
time
yeah.
parking in the downtown
I
is going
agree,
to work.
right.
I mean, I
So-
think this is a good start.
Al's recommendations about where and how, I think, is easy enough to get this accomplished, and so if you wanna proceed with that, that's fine, but, you know, I would like to at least start a discussion about, are you at least amenable? We had a parking study that we
Yeah.
paid a lot of money for that recommended timed parking enforcement to
Right.
turn over parking. And that's not a new concept, it really just reinforced what
Yeah,
we had been saying for quite some time. You know, I'm not locked into it, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, whatever, I mean, that's, you're gonna have to be a consensus from the council,
Yeah.
obviously. There's good arguments for, different levels of it, but it's gonna have to be done. You've taken down the parking ramp,
mhm,
and from what the study said, you may not have to consider a new parking ramp as fast if you have some managed parking in the downtown where there's
well, my understanding was the intent of this, committee and the council and even like Main Street was to move forward with the timed parking. You know, I was actually shocked that Main Street was behind it, but, you know, I mean, they're feeling some of the same issues that we see with, you know, people not moving and it's, you know,
And I think
impacting their business, so.
the question all comes down to, how do we enforce it? I think is the biggest question.
Who?
Well, that,
How?
I wanna do this,
Yeah.
you know, in baby steps, so that,
Yeah.
and make sure everybody understands, what we're talking about with time parking is not going back and putting in parking meters.
No.
Right.
No.
Absolutely.
Or kiosks. What we have sort of laid out is that vehicles have to move after a certain time
Right.
period. The parking is free.
You're right.
Right, they just need.
The ticket, if you overtime park and don't move your vehicle, is not.
Right.
Right,
So what they would be paying would be a fine for a
Extended.
violation of a regulation,
Mhm.
basically. And so I can point out to you again that the ordinance, and you can see that it's all laid out. I mean, we could tweak it a little bit, it'd be easy enough for the city attorney to tweak if you don't like the words rows or whatever, but what we envisioned was that you didn't just back your car in and out.
Right.
You had to actually
Move.
relinquish the space for at least the amount of time that's the maximum you could park there. So you'd have to relinquish it for at least, if you had 2 hour parking, you'd have to move out of there for at least 2
Sure.
hours.
Yep.
And we said you couldn't put it in the same row, which meant they had to move it. They didn't just move it to the next space, they actually had to back it up and put it either on the other side of the street or in another block or something. There are communities that can't be in the same block, but where we started with was in that row. You had to get out of that row,
Yep.
so that the idea is to turn the parking over. So, you know, it's easily enough accomplished. Some minor tweaking, you're gonna have an
Yeah.
ordinance shell, and then, the rest of it is by the resolution that sets it up and how it's done.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we start working on that right away. I mean, the
Absolutely.
ramp is down. I mean, and it was determined that it wouldn't have much of an impact if we started with the timed parking downtown, so I mean, I really think we need to get moving
Yeah,
on it.
We've
absolutely.
talked about this since 2011,
Well,
20 years
as you
before that.
recall,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was money originally in the budget
Right.
proposed to hire a third-party vendor.
Right.
That money is no longer in the budget
Right,
correct.
specifically.
Yeah.
I'd like to see these 4 spots get started, and while we look at, some type of time parking for the rest of it.
And actually get moving on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
Yeah.
talked about for
Yeah.
years and nothing's been done, and
But what's our next step with getting moving on it? I guess that's kind of where I don't know.
for,
This, I'm
These-
fine,
these
no,
four?
these are fine, like, I'm
These
considering
4, Al and I can work out wording for
Yeah,
them,
I'm,
and we'll bring that
I'm
back to
considering
the
these pretty
next.
much
okay.
done at
meeting,
this point, you
As
know?
far as the time wise on those things, I think 15 minutes isn't enough, cause if you go into, some store like pharmacy, I'll use that for
You
example.
could wait in line.
You wait in line, I'd like to see 20 or 30 minutes.
How much, I mean, you've obviously seen signs that look like this one, and I understand some of them are probably customizable, but what are you typically seeing for drop-offs and pickups?
Usually 10-15 minutes in that time frame.
I guess I
They're
would,
usually pretty quick when you're, like, if you're ordering at a restaurant.
Those,
it's-
yeah.
You know, you're gonna be, okay, 20 minutes, your order will be ready, so you're kinda, I mean, Schultz
The pharmacy would be the only one that would
possibly.
possibly go over that.
But if you're going over that, and you know you're gonna take time, cause you're going in there more than to get your
Right.
prescription,
Choose
Then
another
stall.
pick-
Well, and
yeah,
most people, when they go to
personalized.
pick up their prescription, they know that's already done, so,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, they're not
Right. Oh,
waiting for
yeah.
it to get filled and
Yeah.
whatever.
I guess, let me interject some realism.
Sure.
The chance of them pulling in there and just, it almost astronomical, the chance that somebody would actually come and figure out that they were there for longer than 15
Yeah.
minutes
Yeah.
Yeah,
and get a citation. The idea behind it is to encourage people
yes,
to voluntarily
Right.
not go park there for the whole day.
Right.
So
To keep
if
people moving.
necessary, if we're getting a lot of complaints, then then we'll just go up there and someone will be sitting there when they pull in saying,
Well,
remember, it's 15 minutes, tick tock.
Yeah,
And we'll make our point that way other than,
Yeah, okay.
you know,
so I guess I'm comfortable with the 10-minute signs, I think it's,
I'd say 15.
I'd say 15.
You get 15 at the post office, right?
it's, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
I'd say 15.
That's all the time parking is for people, to keep people from parking there all day. That's the problem.
all right, we'll bring that to you
People aren't
next.
okay,
Okay.
but what about,
Martin, any input on the parking
yeah, where do we go
overall?
As far as, time parking, I guess we just need to know what you need, you know, to make a decision. You know, we had the option last year for the budget, if that's something you're still interested in, you want us to look into it further or tweak it, or if there's an in-house option that you'd like us to look at and price out.
I think it came down, if I remember correctly, to the cost.
It really came down to the overall budget.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then the cost of
Yeah, the cost
this
of
was
the
pretty
third
high.
party was the big drawback on it. So if we can
What are your
figure out a
thoughts,
way
Chief?
to do it cost effectively.
Maybe it's something we look at after the council meeting when we determine if priority-based budgeting goes into effect.
Makes sense.
How much of that budget, I don't remember how much of that budget dollar amount was for capital costs and how much was recurring costs?
Well-
Minimal capital comparatively.
Yeah.
What was it, about 40,000 maybe in capital?
Yeah.
And that was just the initial,
So, I mean,
Yeah.
to answer you correctly, I guess, it was a big part of that, what do we have, 36,000, does that sound in the ballpark?
I think 36 was the difference between
Maybe
revenue,
it was.
anticipated revenue and expenditure.
There was some
Although-
upfront capital in the
Right.
first
In the
year.
first
Right, right.
Then after that, it was just recurring
Yeah.
contractual costs.
And I believe the 36 was exclusive of that capital. So it was just looking at the
Sounds right.
operating revenue